bad, me sick, me Reggaeville.
Reggaeville family, this is Summer Jam 2026, and I have a great pleasure to be with the one person that released my favorite album of the year thus far. The Wicked Elephant in the Room is one of the records I've been listening nonstop.
Nice.
And Richie Campbell created it. You're with me today. How are you feeling, Richie?
I'm feeling great after that compliment. We haven't talked about the album yet, so I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. I love it. I really, really love it. You said in a caption, but it's also part of a song, you said that you needed to say some things that you've been holding back for more than 10 years. What were those things?
Well, you heard the album, so you probably heard a few of them. I guess the idea behind the whole album and project and that line itself is addressing the elephant in the room, hence the name of the album, which is, being a Portuguese reggae and dancehall artist and with all the uncomfortable conversations that comes with, and I always felt like I do this music from a place of love and respect, and I work very hard to evolve and to be a better artist every year, and I felt that little elephant in the room might be distracting from the actual music itself, and I thought that addressing it with the album and also the documentary would be the perfect way to make people like to just set the tone for people to kind of listen to the music without judgment, and I feel like it's been doing its job, because the reaction I'm getting is definitely like, all right, like I understand you more now, and like now I'm free to just listen to the music without all these things.
The Elephant in the Room, you said that you put together a documentary as well that came out at the same time the album came out, and in the documentary we see that one Fix interview that you did where Ari said it's the elephant in the room. Is that where this derived from, or was that clearer before that you would name it like that?
Not really. We actually realized that she said elephant in the room later when we were editing the documentary. But the idea of the elephant in the room was present since, like, from the point that we started to realize that we were working on the album. The idea of the elephant in the room was there, but we never wanted to use the expression elephant in the room. We were struggling for months to find something that would convey the same message, but at the end we just realized that the elephant in the room is the best expression to kind of explain this situation, and we just went with it.
And you put some snippets from like media persons or radio personalities that were saying like, oh, this is a Portuguese brother, this is a white guy, and so forth. How does that? How did you find these things? And why did you want to put them there in its original quote?
So basically, most of those quotes are from internet personalities like Twitch streamers, reactors, like just normal people, and I wanted to put it there because I think in my career I've struggled with industry people more than with people, and the reality is, like, up until this point in my career, every step upwards that we've taken has come from people supporting us, like normal people, open-minded people that listen to the music, understand the story, delve deep into the story, and realize, like I like what this person represents and I like the music, and I wanted to pay tribute to those people on the internet, those people everywhere else that have been supporting me, that have been sustaining my career all these years, because the industry is afraid to touch certain artists that might come with some difficult conversations, and they're not willing to risk putting their brands or their money behind some artists that they might feel can be perceived as offensive or something to some people. So I'm very appreciative to anybody that puts my name out there and that supports my music.
So for how long have you been having this idea in mind to do also especially the documentary, which shows, of course, on one hand the making of the album, but also this other side where you can finally show, okay, I've been coming here since so many years, pictures of Tivoli Gardens 2011 and all these things, to show the appreciation and love that you have for Jamaica?
To be honest, it was never in my plan to make this album, to make this documentary, and to address the elephant in the room, because to me, I've always felt like I wanted to make my career about music. Even when I was starting out, back then, it could have even been perceived as like a plus to be like this white guy that's doing dancehall, and I never wanted to play that at that time. I always wanted to be it to be about the music, and now that the world has turned around, and not really now, but like in the past few years, the world went to through a stage where just the mere fact that you're white and that you speak in this language or whatever was considered as cultural appropriation and just offensive and stuff. And even then, I never wanted to address it. It happened very naturally because I brought in some new people into the team, specifically Gonzalo Afonso, who is the director of the documentary. And the first idea was just to document the process of making the album. And halfway through the process, he just said, this is the story that you have to tell. This is really the story that you have to tell. Because even him, as a Portuguese youth that grew up in Portugal, knowing me, he was like, I needed to see this side of the story, and I feel like people need to see this side of the story. And I was like, all right, bro, just do what you want to do, and I'll just roll with it. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I trusted him, because I think people needed this elephant in the room to be addressed.
And you know that I mentioned a couple of quotes already from the album, and there's one quote that gave me goosebumps, because that says, from Bridgetown General, which boy call me vulture, them never know me would I die for the culture. And that was such a impactful sentence to me, honestly.
Nice. Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel, because at the end of the day, like, I got to a point where I was like, bro, honestly, like, I'm just gonna do what I like to do. And if people want, I don't know, if people want to stop me from doing this, I'll still be doing this, even if it's just 3 people listening. Like, if it's 1 out of a million, like, at least I'm going to be doing what I love and what I enjoy and what is true to myself, even though if people don't understand it.
What I really appreciate about this album is that every song is like a little story. So you can listen to them individually. Or I was wondering, like, is that one character that, or is that all non-fictional, and that's all Richie Campbell's stories, various stories? How much is fiction? How much is non-fiction when it comes to your lyrics?
No, none of it is fiction. Like, it's very important to me to be truthful to what I write, especially as being very aware that I might be perceived sometimes as somebody that's trying to copy something. I try to make sure that everything that I say in my lyrics, I can back it up, because that's the only way I can feel true and real to myself. So everything is biographical. I'm curious to say which part makes you say wow, but I mean, some of the, everything is biographical. Let's just say that.
Okay, interesting. Because I feel like, so your life is basically pretty much of a roller coaster ride, as in, I mean, seriously, I was thinking like, okay, this person, or now you, that it's raining on from morning, and whose bed is like cold concrete and stuff. Maybe his karma beat him when he was trying to, get that girl in Loyal that had another boyfriend, or he was having an ex-girlfriend while he was still thinking about his former girlfriend.
I mean, you see, like, when people, especially in Portugal, like, people know me specifically because of these love songs and love stories that I write, yeah? And I always explain that my whole experience when it comes to, like, relationships comes from the experience that almost every artist goes through, which is, you can see a shift between before you were a successful artist and after you were a successful artist, when it comes to, like, how women perceive you, how women treat you. And that is something that changes you fundamentally, at least for a while. It takes a little getting used to. First of all, you go through this phase of, like, of not understanding and kind of begrudging women, because I was the same person before, and now everybody wants to see me and all these things. And then it takes some work, some inner work, to understand that you can't blame this girl for what your childhood crush did to you, and that everybody is different, and that also being a successful artist is also part of becoming a mature and successful and more balanced person. So also being at peace with the fact that a woman will find a successful and, like, a mature person more attractive than a kid. You get what I'm saying? So all of these stories come from some trauma and some discovery and some evolving in life with what being an artist comes with,
You never felt like, oh, am I maybe sharing too much with the world?
Of course, but as an artist, you can't really too think about that, like, you can say that about those love songs, but I feel much more vulnerable in songs like Before I Lose My Voice, or even songs like From Morning. Like, that to me is where I feel the most vulnerable, because sometimes you're telling people how you feel in music. You're saying things that you wouldn't say to your closest friends or your family. And it's very uncomfortable to me till I know that my mother is listening to a song, and how I'm articulating how bad I feel at sometimes because life gets overwhelming. But yeah, those are the real vulnerable moments. Those are the ones that I'm more cautious of sharing. But as an artist, your responsibility is towards creativity and towards being as real as possible, because the more vulnerable you are, the more you connect with people.
And don't get me wrong, I felt sorry for you with the cold concrete bed and the rain still. Speaking of your mom, there's also one line where you said the day my mama first played me that song. Do you recall which song that was?
Big up moms. No, man. People have asked me this countless times. I meant that song as in the music itself. Like, I can't remember which song she showed me first, but it must have been something like Bob Marley or Jacob Miller or some Peter Tosh, something like that, because that was her kind of lane.
And how was working with Chronic Law? Because that is, besides Plutonio, that's the second combination on the album. You did that in Jamaica. We can also see it in the documentary. How was working with him like?
It was great. It was everything I hoped it was. Law Boss is just a person that delivers, always delivers lyrically. And I was happy that also melodically, maybe because I came in with like the melodies, and like I was happy to see that he even like upped his game in terms of melodies. And it was just fascinating to see like one of my favorite artists of the moment just go into the studio and just deal with that verse in like half hour, and it coming out so perfectly.
And that's where we see the footage from also in the documentary. That was the very recording session?
Yeah, that was the recording session, yeah. Actually, I feel like that might have been when he heard the song. I'm not sure.
What we also see in the documentary is like, I think the creation of its Insomnia, where you first humming this thing in the car, and then that leads further to eventually the song. Is this how you normally create songs, with first a melody and then put in the lyrics to it?
Yeah, it depends. I was so glad to have that caught on tape, because that was actually like that song actually started from the word insomnia, because I was like, it's one of those nights like I couldn't sleep, and I was like, bro, I have studio tomorrow and I need to get something out of this, like this night of no sleep. And I just wrote insomnia on my phone. So the next day when I heard that beat, like I was like, insomnia came out immediately. And then and sometimes it's the word, and then sometimes it's the melody. I would just build off of that. And it was interesting to see that in the documentary, because I was even second guessing my favorite melody in the song now, which is the bridge. And I asked him like, this melody sound good? And he was like, yeah, it sound good. And I'm like, all right, cool, yeah.
It's so nice to have these insights. Also seeing you with the Seika and Not Nice, was that like a kind of a dream come true, working with them after you did work on a Not Nice rhythm like way back?
Yeah, no, for sure, because again, I grew up on their music. Like, to me, Not Nice and Da Seika were just like the most exciting dancehall producers at the time, and they produced some of the most exciting songs. And I felt like that was a time in Jamaican music where there was no boundaries. And like I said in the documentary, that's one of the most fascinating things to me in Jamaican music, is like, you can't just do anything and call it dancehall as long as you approach it from a dancehall mindset, I would say.
So what is a dancehall mindset?
A dancehall mindset is more about how you say things and the themes in the songs than necessarily how the beat sounds. Because I love the fact that you can get an artist like a Movado or something and give him something that is not dancehall, and just have that same raw like emotion and just pain on a beat that wouldn't normally fit that type of, and that to me is the most exciting thing.
And you would still identify it as dancehall, even though as in musically it's different.
Of course.
So you can listen to all the songs we spoke about on the Elephant in the Room album. Check out the documentary as well. And the most crucial question I was really wondering for a long while is, were you really holding a sheep in the video for Insomnia?
I was, and that was a is the director made me do it, and I hated every second of it. Because in the video you see like maybe like 5 seconds, and that's all I could do, because it was just like squirming and moving, and it smelled terrible. But I mean, But I loved the concept of counting sheep, so I had to do it for the video. You get me? I remember when that song kind of went viral with some reaction. I remember Jamaicans was commenting like, "That's how I know he's Jamaican, because he's holding that sheep. I would never."
All right, love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us the album and also sheep videos and all those things, Richie. I'm looking forward to seeing you on stage today. Enough love and all the very best still for the works. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Me mad, me sick, me Reggaeville.